Hi. How's it going? Y'all doing all right? Anything you want to talk about? Anything on your mind? Anything we can chatter about late at night, midnight if you're on the East Coast, 9 p.m. here on the West Coast for a live, exclusive mic drop just to discuss, I don't know, WWE potentially being sold to the Saudis? If you got them, drink them. Cheers to you guys. Let me preface this entire live stream by saying one specific thing up front. Everything we're about to talk about here in the next hour or so is 100% totally unconfirmed. These are rumors. There's some chatter going around Twitter right now by some of the big names in wrestling journalism. All seem to be hearing the same thing. Very big news day today as well in WWE as Stephanie McMahon resigns as CEO and Vince McMahon has been elected unanimously as chairman of the board back in WWE. This has sparked a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation about Vince making sure and literally forcing his way back into WWE, not only from a behind-the-scenes perspective, but potentially even more. And now with some of this news of Stephanie stepping down, Vince is back in, rumors of the Saudi investment group purchasing WWE, taking the company private again, which of course means that they might actually be willing to put Vince McMahon back in charge, which is probably what Vince's whole point and motivation to all of this stuff right from the beginning has been. And it could very well be an extremely dark day in the wrestling business if these rumors are to be confirmed. Another reason why I'm up here right now is because I'm not going to have any time to come up here and do anything tomorrow before Dynamite, because I'm going to Dynamite. Tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw debuting on the USA Network back in 1993, but I'm going to be over on TBS up at the LA Forum to watch what is set to be a really stacked AEW Dynamite right now, but might be overshadowed by some potentially huge news of the century. I mean, news of our lives, really, if this turns out to be true. And it could be very scary for WWE's future if some of these rumblings do turn out to be confirmed at the end of this. So by tomorrow, when I'm in the car heading up to LA, we could have a brand new ownership in WWE. We don't even know, but I've got the night off tonight. I do have time to come up here and talk to you guys about this, so I thought this was a good opportunity to at least give you something, because you're not going to get any of my thoughts on Vince McMahon, WWE, a potential sale to anybody, much less the Saudis, until Thursday or Friday anyway. So it's kind of like now or never. So I figured I would just come up here very late and see how many of you want to hang out and join us tonight as we kind of talk, in a very uneducated way about a lot of this Vince McMahon stuff. Now, the story of the week on the podcast on Saturday was, of course, Vince McMahon returning to the WWE Board of Directors and bringing with him George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, kicking off 3 other board members in the process. And this now sets Vince up to be able to oversee any potential sale of the company that most expect to take place in 2023. Now, one of the things I foolishly said in Saturday's podcast when we learned of this news, I said, I'm not really that surprised that the old man wants to be a part of this. If I was in his shoes, his dirty, horny, perverted shoes, I would want the same thing. If I put my blood, sweat, and tears into a company for 4 decades, of course, if it's going to be sold, my signature should be the one that seals the deal. Understandable. But, when you can't keep your fucking jackhammer in your pants and you act like a disgusting, gross pervert for the majority of your time running that company, and the company is private, he learned that actions have consequences. And now we're starting to learn that maybe they actually don't after all. Maybe from the minute he was kind of told to resign, to retire, to get out of there, because he is an absolute, complete PR fucking nightmare, this guy. He left, and I think maybe his immediate goal, his mind just went right back into, how can I take back over? And I was trying to give the old nutcase the benefit of the doubt. I understand this guy is an egomaniac. I understand he is completely selfish with nobody else other than his own interest at heart. But I also felt, just based on how I've known with Vince and watched Vince as a fan for the last 40 years, that deep down he should truly love his company. And deep down he should truly want what's best for it, even if that means it doesn't include him. Well, we found out that that's not true, because Vince McMahon obviously cannot handle a WWE without him. And if these rumors, and like I said, I can't stress that enough. Rumors are to be believed or are confirmed or turn out to be true. One has to believe and assume that the reason this sale was made was because Vince McMahon wanted back in control of his company, and taking the company private is probably the only way that's possible. Now, another reason why the Saudis might be a suitable buyer is because they have the money and probably would be willing to overpay for something like this. Because if they were to sell to Disney, to Comcast, to Amazon, Vince probably would not be able to be anywhere near that company. They would not want him to. So taking the company private, if you did that, somebody would have to overpay, and want to pay that much for it. And who around the world has that kind of money? They do. Mr. Americana. I always hated the way Vince McMahon said that word, Americana. He's Mr. Patriot Man. Selling his company to the fucking Saudis. Could you imagine? Now, I'm really hoping that this is all just bullshit, but it's been all over Twitter. Now, the first person I saw something from that made me kind of raise a people's eyebrow was Brian Alvarez. About 3 hours ago, exactly 3 hours ago, says, I think monster news imminent. Okay, that could mean anything. Then, our friend Cassidy Haynes over at bodyslam.net about an hour later tweets out this, for what it's worth, I'm told the Saudi deal is done and they're taking the company private. So he's heard something. Andrew Zarian, underneath that, replies, it's early morning in Saudi Arabia. Perfect time to get a deal done right before breakfast, right? Then after that, about 25 minutes later, Stephen Mulhausen, who we quoted on the podcast on Saturday with some interesting Vince McMahon information, tweets out this, and I quote, sources, WWE has been sold to Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. The company will go back to being private, unknown if Vince McMahon will return to head of creative, but it is expected by some people. Okay. Sean Ross Sapp, our friend Sean. He has, he did not report an update on this. This tweet was about Vince McMahon stuff earlier today. I wanted to read that anyway, but that's on a completely other topic. So that's what we have seen floating around Twitter within the last hour or so. Now, earlier today, when we heard the news of Stephanie McMahon stepping down, she posted on Twitter an entire statement as well. Probably did this across all of social media and WWE's website and corporate website as well. Dear WWE Universe, about 8 months ago, I took a leave of absence, and within a few weeks, unexpectedly had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the privilege to return as the co-CEO and chairwoman of the board of WWE. I cannot put into words how proud I am to have led what I consider to be the greatest company in the world, working alongside a remarkable leadership team and one of the strongest executives I have ever known in my co-CEO, Nick Khan. Goes on to say our founder, Vince McMahon, has returned as executive chair and is leading an exciting process regarding strategic alternatives. And with Nick's leadership and Paul Levesque as chief content officer, I am confident WWE is in the perfect place to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. That right there is her father's daughter. Jesus Christ. WWE is in such a strong position that I have decided to return to my leave of absence. She decided this. And take it one step further with my official resignation. Completely Stephanie's personal decision. Maybe it is. I just doubt it. I look forward to cheering on WWE from the other side of the business where I started when I was a little kid as a pure fan. This woman went from CEO to a fan. I will always remain dedicated to WWE. I truly love our company, our employees, our superstars, and our fans, and I am grateful to all of our partners. And then she closes with that disgusting, puke-inducing WWE Then Now Forever saying and signs off. So Stephanie resigns. Vince McMahon is now back in, and a lot of people in the company really like Stephanie. I know I've given Stephanie a hard time on the podcast and stuff before, but most of that is just lightheartedness and in a joking fashion. I do know that Stephanie is well liked, not only by the women, but by the men, the entire roster. She's way more easier to deal with than Vince McMahon, and she's a lot less nuts, and she's going to have some McMahon traits about her, obviously, that might not be that great, but overall, she is a much better and more welcomed CEO or, boss of that company in terms of all of the reports we've heard across the board. There's nobody really outside of maybe the inner circle, the Bruces and shit like that would prefer Vince over anybody else in charge in that company. So that's another thing that makes this whole thing so frustrating is it sounds like not only do the fans not want anything to do with Vince, the talent does not, and the employees do not. He is making this happen regardless of what 98% of the people that comprise that company want and think what's best for that company. He could give two shits. It's his company and he's going to do what he wants. And that's just insane that he has that mindset. But Stephanie stepping down was then followed up by a statement on WWE's company website. And that was the screenshot that I had just taken from Sean Ross Sapp's Twitter, where he showed the statement by the WWE that is titled WWE Board of Directors unanimously elects Vince McMahon executive chairman of the board. WWE today announced that its board elected Vince McMahon chairman of the board. Stephanie has resigned as her roles as chairwoman and co-CEO. Nick Khan will serve as WWE CEO. So Vince McMahon isn't necessarily back as the CEO. He's just the executive chairman. And I'm not smart enough in business to know what the fuck the difference is between those two things. All I know is it sucks for us. Vince McMahon, statement from him. First, well, let's not do his stupid voice. First, I'd like to express, this is hilarious line. First, I'd like to express my full support for Stephanie's personal decision. He made sure he put in personal decision, like we don't think it was anything other than that. Now, I will say, Stephanie, this could have been an agreement with her and Vince prior to this. I mean, Stephanie is Vince's daughter, don't forget, and Stephanie should be, and Triple H too, should be considered people that probably knew some of the dirty things Vince was up to and potentially even conspired in a cover-up, if you really, really want to think that deeply about it. But I think that this would likely be, I think if Stephanie and Vince and Hunter are sitting around a dinner table or something months ago when this all happened, Stephanie, take over for me. I'm going to find my way back in there. When I do, you can resign. Okay, Dad, yeah, no problem. Maybe that was the underlying agreement between the two of them. You're CEO interim right now, and when I can get back in there, you'll resign and, whatever. Maybe that is what happened there, but it's still, the timing is odd. The timing is really odd. Especially when you think about she is a woman who is a CEO, and with these rumors about WWE potentially selling to a Saudi group, I don't think they'd be too keen on a woman CEO. The timing on this is all very, very strange. Anyway, Vince's statement goes on to say, I'll be forever grateful that she offered to step in during my absence, and I'm truly proud of the job she did co-leading WWE. Stephanie has always been the ultimate ambassador for our company, and her decades of contributions have left an immeasurable impact on our brand. I'm proud to announce that Nick Khan will serve as WWE CEO. Nick's business acumen and mastery of the media industry have helped catapult our business to record revenue and profitability. Together, we look forward to working with the board at this critical moment in time to review our strategic alternatives and maximize value for all WWE shareholders. There's that lovely line again that we all love to see. Vince McMahon, the guy that did everything for the fans in the WWE universe, he has said time and time again publicly, the only thing that matters to that company is maximizing the amount of money the people who own stock in that company can make. Don't they want to worry about the company selling to competent hands, somebody that's going to take care of it as an entity so WWE can live on? If you're just going to sell to the highest bidder, anything can happen to the WWE. Anything can happen in WWE and to the WWE if you're just going to take the most amount of money. I'd be willing to take a couple of billion less to ensure WWE lives on forever instead of taking a couple of billion more to sell it to someone who could just fold it tomorrow. I'm not saying that would happen. Nobody's going to invest this much money in a company without having intent on making more money from it. So I don't think it's going to necessarily fold, but all the women in that locker room, the Sami Zayns of that locker room, I would expect and assume without knowing or talking to anybody directly, I would not be surprised if you start hearing reports from Sean or from Fightful or anybody else that the talent is fucking pissed. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if you have a few release requests or potentially some straight up walkouts. I personally believe it's that bad. It could get that bad. I would imagine with the talent and some of the opinions we've already heard from them generally regarding Vince McMahon, I can't imagine anybody sitting back really not worried about this. Oh, don't worry about it. This isn't a big deal. And, somebody on Twitter said, we don't know if any of this is too good mic work. Be careful of these rumors. yeah, I know how to manage this. I've been at this YouTube thing for a long time. Some YouTubers can't really sometimes tell the difference between reporting the news and talking about the news. All I'm here to talk about is the same shit we're all reading online. If you're tuning into this channel to get news, you tuned into the wrong place. I'm some bald idiot that's just talking about it. That's it. And this is all extremely interesting, and it's extremely scary, and it makes you worried not only for the product that we've loved for so much of our lives, but also the people working there, the talent, the roster, the staff and the employees there have put decades into that company, some of them, all the talent there that all have bright futures that might not know now what the future holds. And I think a lot of people in WWE likely would just like to get it over with. They would like to know and like the sale just to be done so they can move on and move forward, because the transition stuff and the not knowing and the uncertainty, that's got to be driving people crazy. I would not be so stressed out if I was in WWE and Vince McMahon was a non-factor and our top bidders were going to be your Disney, your Comcast, and maybe Amazon or something like that. I'm like, holy shit, cool. You can do, Peacock, and SmackDown can be on NBC and Raw can stay on USA, or, Disney can buy them and the pay-per-views can be on ESPN and they can build a physical Hall of Fame at Disney World. And there's all sorts of cool things they could possibly do. You sell it to a government that sliced off the head of a fucking journalist. I mean, this is just crazy. I just cannot believe that could be a possibility, but it just shows you what a dirty, corrupt world we live in, and how the only thing that matters is making as much money as you fucking possibly can. And to me, that's crazy. I mean, you give me, if I win $1 billion, in the lottery, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to want to keep like 20 million and ball and live like a baller, but do I need the rest of it? No. Like, what is the point of just constantly just being such a greedy motherfucker? And I just think greed, could potentially really be driving this. Greed and ego, which are the two worst traits I think that a human being can have. And they're Vince McMahon's top two traits. We're supposed to support this company and shit like that. Luckily we all, we have connection with the talent, the stars that we see on TV, that keeps us tuned in. But from a morale standpoint, it's really hard to support anything WWE does from a political or financial standpoint. They're really, really, really disgusting. No matter how much Make-A-Wish shit they smear on TV and, all their little, charity deals that they only do for publicity. Stephanie McMahon has actually been on record saying that, that it's very good for business to be charitable. So they know what they're doing, really at the end of the day. It's about that bottom line. It's about that dollar. And that's really an uncomfortable prospect. But that's where we're at as of tonight. Now, I don't know what the fallout of this is going to be. I'm going to be really interested to see, what the internet is saying tomorrow regarding the reaction. And if we're going to have some sort of sale happen here in the next few hours. I mean, it's only 20 after 9 at night here on the West Coast, so just a little after midnight on the East Coast, and it's morning time apparently over in Saudi Arabia. So things could start happening, and they could start happening in the next few hours. So I don't know. I've not even said hello to the chat yet. I will go over there and do that right now and knock out any super chats that are here, see if you guys are freaking out. I mean, I feel like an idiot on Saturday. I said, I even posted a clip of this today on Twitter. I said, I'm like, my instinct, my gut tells me, even though I perfectly understand Vince can't be trusted, I know that he's nuts, and I also know that his ego is what's driving this. All of that is true, but I still just felt like he had way too many obstacles in front of him to actually get himself reinstalled as the sole owner of everything, the sole controller of every aspect of the product, including creative. And I said, I just don't think he's there to do that. When he announced his intentions and said what he was there to do last week, he's there to oversee the sale, I said that I could understand that from his perspective. Unfortunately, he also has to understand that actions should have consequences. But in terms of Vince wanting to be a part of the sale, I get that. So if he absolutely must, and he forces and muscles his way back in behind the scenes to sell off the company, it really shouldn't affect us fans that directly if that's all he's really there to do. So I wasn't freaked out too much about it. I told you guys, I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to take Vince's word. I'm going to believe him when he says he's not here to disrupt the management or the creative. He's just here to help facilitate the sale because only his mind can get this done, according to him, and that's all he's here to do. I'm like, okay, I can understand Vince being having an ego large enough to where he believes that, and that doesn't surprise me at all. And I never expected Vince to just completely fade away and evaporate into existence when he retired last summer. You knew he was going to still have something to do with shit behind the scenes because he still was the majority owner. That wasn't changing at all. So you knew Vince was going to rear his head again. We just always hoped it would be behind the scenes. So far, it still is. Even though he's chairman of the board again, unless there is a sale under WWE's current ownership right now, he cannot get back into creative. But if the company is sold, it's private, and as of tomorrow, there's a brand new owner, and the company's no longer public anymore, then I guess he can just implement any rules and make any rulings that he sees fit if he is the controlling, if he's the person put in charge, or if he's the CEO, or whatever they make him, if he does sell this off to a company and make it private again. But then essentially Vince McMahon would be somebody else's boss. And that's what also makes this fishy. Would Vince really want to work for somebody, who owns now his company, even if they give him complete control in his mind? Since he's such an egomaniac, he has to know, I'm not owning this. I'm somebody's bitch now for the first time in my life. For the first time since I was working for my dad, setting up the ring and shit, I am an employee. Is that something that his ego can take? Is he that hell-bent on being in control of the day-to-day operations of the company that he's willing to sell it to anybody who will allow him to do that? Even as crazy as Vince McMahon is, does he understand that he's 77 years old? I know a lot of people, Vince is going to live forever. Is he, though? I know he works out and shit like that, but, Vince, not even Vince McMahon can escape Father Time, and that's evident. You can see that when you look at him. He looks like a goddamn alien on TV. His weird-ass eyebrows and his face mumbles all of his promos now. He's a mess out there. So time is going to catch up to him. He cannot run WWE forever. So now that WWE has finally transitioned into a different direction, heading up their creative, it's been a success. They've had better morale in the locker room, better ratings, better fan interest. WrestleMania has already broken the all-time gate without even having a match announced yet for WrestleMania 39. It's positive, positive, positive across the board since Vince left. He would have to be an incredible asshole on a level almost impossible to fathom to be able and willing to undo all of that just so he can remain in control for the remaining years of his life. And how much longer is that going to be? Because he might live forever, but I tell you what, if he goes completely senile and he's clinically insane and he's got full-blown dementia and that's been diagnosed, doesn't matter what he wants to do at that point. He will not be able to do that. He will be deemed, unable to and unfit to lead or to make decisions for himself. And they'll throw him in a padded room and, give him some soup and a puzzle. And then hopefully we can have, a competent leader back at the helm in WWE. But I would hate for Triple H's work that everybody seems to be an overwhelming fan of, for that to all be undone for the sake of ego. The damage you could do to the product, the damage you could do to your employees, the morale, the fans extremely turned off, perhaps advertisers, a lot that could go wrong with that desire to do that purely out of personal ego. It's kind of disappointing that you always thought, if nothing else, you believed Vince's passion. Dude was an absolute maniac on commentary. Every fucking every pin was a near fall. Oh, he almost got him. WWF, anything can happen. And he was so over the top. He wanted to tell his own stories. He wanted to present the product the way he saw it. And he seems to have completely different motivations now and priorities now. And now it just seems like him remaining in control no matter what, at the expense of anything. Even if it destroys his own company in his own little universe, then so be it. Sounds familiar. All this happened, by the way, on January 6th. All this started, when Vince McMahon found his way in there. And this is kind of a repeating of history, only on a much smaller scale. Instead of this going on in a whole country, it's going on just in one company. But it's a universe for us, because this is our whole lives. And finally, when we started to have some optimism on WWE's side, I mean, from the minute Triple H took over, I mean, I think a lot of us felt this way. It was just like this cleansing. I'm like, man, it's going to be better, because it literally couldn't be worse. There's no human being on the planet that could fill in for Vince McMahon and create a worse product than what he was creating. So it didn't matter if you put a goddamn chimpanzee in his place. The Raws and SmackDowns and pay-per-views would be better. That was going to happen by default. And then Triple H, with all of his years and the great work that he was doing in NXT that we all loved, he put him in and everything has gone pretty well. He hasn't been perfect. He's made some mistakes. He's done some things that Vince McMahon would have done, but he's also fixed and righted a lot of wrongs that were done previously, to the point where it's filled the fans with a lot more optimism, and we, feel a lot better about the product overall, that maybe things aren't going to be so bad after all. And just when you think things are starting to look up, it's the Vince McMahon promo in front of the mirror when he brought back the NWO. I'm going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of myself, of my old ass. And I'm going to be here to tear it down, because nobody is going to sell my company other than me. Just like he said in that promo, if anybody's going to kill my creation, I'm going to do it. That's art imitating life right there. That's literally what's happening right now. It feels like that's exactly what Vince is telling people. If anybody's going to sell my creation or kill my creation or take it in a vastly different chapter, I'm going to be the man to make the final call. And he's willing to do anything to achieve that goal, even if it means selling to a Saudi investment group. So let's just hope. These are rumors. Let's just hope there's nothing to this. Tomorrow, when I wake up, I take a shower, I wash my ass, I get in my car, and I head to LA for Dynamite. Hopefully, I'll be reading on social media that the Saudi stuff was just bullshit. It didn't happen. And now it looks like, it's going to be Comcast and, and Disney. I mean, I've been kind of terrified about WWE selling in general, but now I'm like really, really hoping. I feel like if it lands in Comcast or Disney's hands, we'll be okay. But I am not liking this rumor at all. That's why I really hope that's all it is a rumor. Let's see what the chat has to say. I've been doing a lot of talking. How about the 523 people in the audience after midnight? Please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind. You can subscribe as well. That would help. I will be attending Dynamite tomorrow night, but I will have a review of the show up probably on Thursday with some bloggy stuff and some footage, and be meeting some fans there, all that kind of stuff. It should be fun. This week, I think it's going to be a really, really, really newsworthy week. I'm going to scroll all the way back. I want to welcome all the channel members who are here. If you would like to join, you can do so. Click in the join button below or the link in the description. I will run through some of these super chats here and answer any questions you guys might have, or concerns or speculation or anything regarding what's going on in WWE land right now. Also, if there are any new reports. I mean, this is all seems like it's happening as we're speaking here, because a lot of this news came within the last hour. A lot of people are tweeting the new undisputed title in WWE is going to be that green belt from Saudi Arabia. Let's read a tweet from our friend Jason, the Sala Monster. Nothing is confirmed, but I'm seeing the same rumors you are. Right now, I'm reminded of where we were 5 months ago and how excited many of us were for change finally in WWE. I think I just said that. Be careful what you wish for. More than anything, I'm just sad, and that fucking sucks. And I think that's a really good way to put it. That's kind of what I've been trying to, say here as well, is that it's just kind of a bummer. It's disappointing, and it's also frustrating that just when you think that we're about to be sitting in one of the greatest times ever to be a wrestling fan, with two companies hitting on all cylinders and providing some pretty goddamn good content, regardless of what the ratings are doing and what the casuals think. I have been enjoying both wrestling shows immensely over the past 6 or 7 months. And when you are in that environment, it's sad that it could potentially go away just for greed, just for ego, and just for the most ridiculous reasons. So hopefully sanity will prevail and we can still potentially dodge a major bullet here. Marcus the Entertainer, I want to thank you for the $2, man. Black Tuesday in WWE. Yeah, in the nick of time, right at the end of Tuesday, although it is still Tuesday for me. Black Tuesday and WWE for sure. Thank you so much for that. Sorry, I'm probably not going to be getting to all of the shout outs here just due to the audience, but I do want to thank everyone for being here. Josiah Blevins, good to see you, man. Thank you so much for joining the family, becoming a member. I think you support us over on Patreon as well. Thank you so much. Good to see you, and thanks for that. JJ Leg, all those great memories ruined if it's true. I'll still have the memories. The memories won't go anywhere. It'll just be really disappointing to know where things lie now. You know what I mean? Devlin Husband, Mania 40 move to Saudi Arabia. Well, I'll tell you this. If they buy it, there will be a WrestleMania over there. There will. Of course there will. Of course there will. Yeah. I'm wearing my AEW hoodie to the show tomorrow. How easy. Good to see you. King Bling Bling, thank you for that $2. If the sale goes south, could WWE go under? No, I don't think that. Even if they sell it to the Saudis, I think no matter who buys it is going to want to benefit and profit and make money from it. I don't think it's just going to be bought to be thrown on the shelf. I would like to think that if Vince, even if that was the highest bidder and they told Vince, we'll pay you $20 billion for it, but I just want to let you know, WWE's never going to exist anymore. I would hope that Vince's pride would say, I'm 77 years old. What the hell do I need with $20 billion? No, go fuck you. I'll sell it for 10 so I can continue it living forever. A sane person would say that, but in business and greed and money of that magnitude, a whole different set of rules are being played by, and it's just super disappointing, you know? Chris Ludek, appreciate that $5, my friend. The pendulum swings back to AEW in terms of the company to work for. Seems like it's shifted back and forth from August 2021 to August 2022. It really has. In my mind, at the beginning of this year, 1 year ago, it was like WWE would be the worst possible place I would ever want to go. We were all still in kind of shock mode. I think we might have just gotten the Cody news around this time, or we were about to get it. And it was, that was pretty shocking, but otherwise, things weren't good in WWE land, but they were still pretty much having a good time in AEW. And then the summer hit. And then right around the same time that the Hangman Page and CM Punk and Elite drama started was when the Vince McMahon hush money scandal broke. That happened like literally within a few weeks of each other. And then AEW goes into All Out, and they have the big fallout there with CM Punk. He gets injured twice and, you know, was a two-time champion who, like, never wrestled or defended the belt. And, of course, the big fight and the brawl and the Montreal Screwjob-like catastrophe that went down at All Out. And then WWE, Vince McMahon retires. Triple H takes over for creative, breathes new life into the locker room and the audience, and the optimism and the enthusiasm in the fans kind of seems to bubble up. AEW, you start hearing stories of the talent being frustrated, not being used, wanting out of their contracts. Now that Triple H is in charge, they want to go back to WWE. William Regal leaves, and it seems like all of a sudden, AEW doesn't look so glamorous anymore now that the big time, you know, the WWE, the biggest company, is now back in the hands of a competent booker. That could be a really good place to get exposure and make a ton of money. Now WWE looks like the better place. But with this news, you know, if I was a free agent, if I was Mercedes Moné, I mean, I know she's probably tied down for a little bit of time here with New Japan, but I don't think she's signed anything super long term. If I'm her, I'm waiting just to see what happens, man. I am definitely showing up. She better be in LA tomorrow, making some sort of appearance. As we said the other day, I don't think she's going to be Saraya's partner per se, because I think New Japan has got dibs on her first match, but I think maybe she could come out at the end of the match after a Sheeta run in or something like that, come out and potentially even turn heel if she were to join up with Britt and Jamie Hayter somehow. That would be kind of cool. That would be almost better than her just doing the typical babyface thing where she comes down to the ring and scares everybody away, and then they go to commercial. I'm going to be down in row number 2 on the first level tomorrow for Dynamite, so I will see that in person, and it will be really cool if Mercedes was there. But in terms of her going back to WWE, I'd be in no rush to get there if I was her. I would just sit back, wait for WWE to sell, wait for the new owners to take shape, wait for all the budget cuts and the transition period to happen, and wait for them to get rolling on the other side. And once you see it's all going smoothly, then boom, you go in, you capitalize, you get your contract, and you can work in a place that at least you know what direction they're going in. It feels more stable. Right now, there's so much uncertainty. If I was someone like her, I would be in no rush to really commit to anything, even if it's verbally. Hey, I'm going to go mess around for a year. I'll see you in 2024. I'd wait and hold out even longer if I was her. It's a mess. It is a mess. Anyway, let's continue on with the comments here and the super chats. Got a bunch of them to get to. Sorry, I lost my place. All right, there you are. Chris, I got you. Next one up, Dan Ragagongana. Sorry about that terrible pronunciation. Thank you for the 5, my friend. So, if this is true, what happens to the women's division? Eliminated? No, I don't think it would be eliminated, because you got to remember that WWE will still remain in the States. Yeah, there might be a little bit more going on overseas now and in Saudi Arabia, but I still think the majority of their business is going to remain here. And I think the headquarters in Connecticut will remain there, and it'll still be ran here. It's just going to be owned by a Saudi company. That's all. So I don't think you're going to eliminate the women's division. They're not going to have the suppression issues that they have over there in Saudi Arabia. That's not going to creep into our content, because we've even convinced them to do women's matches over there. Now that they own the company, maybe they can eliminate those from the Saudi shows. But again, that wouldn't make any political sense whatsoever to even entertain that thought. So no, even if a Saudi group did buy it, I don't think that would affect the women's division. But there's a lot that could be affected, that could be negative in the company. But I would like to think the women would be safe. But shit, man, we're living in a strange time right now. Deshaun Robinson, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that $5. What makes this so much worse is that we are on the road to WrestleMania, the best time of the year, and here we are dealing with this nonsense. That's true. My only hope is that since we have had so much information and so much news break over the past few days, that means we're really on the fast track to getting something done. And it's only January 10th. So I think that if we get a sale done in the next few days here, like is looking possible, we thought this was going to take a few months, get done somewhere around the middle of the year. It might get done way quicker than that. So if they're able to get this done, and by the end of January, there's already been the turnover and we still got 2 months of, build to WrestleMania, maybe it won't affect things. But I wouldn't expect the creative to be affected, but it's got to be weighing heavily on everybody's mind who's involved. Now, Triple H is still, he still maintained his title. Nothing changed with Triple H in all of this, with Stephanie and Vince McMahon's, the changes that they've made with those two and the board changes and all of that. One thing has stayed the same, and that's been Triple H. Maintained his title, maintained his seat on the board, maintained head of creative, and nothing is different there. So he doesn't seem to be in jeopardy yet, unless they're just doing the Mortal Kombat thing where Vince is going down and eliminating people one at a time. But I would just like to think that Vince has faith. Vince is so nuts. He's 77 years old. He's got to understand that he's not going to be around forever. Somebody has to take over for him. And just please, Vince, keep your wrinkly fat snout out of creative, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you, old man. Who's next? Devlin Husband. Appreciate it, my friend. Good to see you. Devlin and I go way back on the Jericho cruise a couple years ago. And now you live over here. Maybe we can hang out soon. Go to WrestleMania, dude. You should. Anyway, thanks for the $5. If I wake up tomorrow and WWE sold to Saudi, that will be the weirdest birthday gift ever. Oh, you got to go through this shit on your birthday, dude. Happy birthday, Devlin. What are you turning, like 16? I'm kidding. Happy birthday, man. Devlin is the man. I forget how old you probably are. I'm going to put you somewhere in the 25-ish area. How old are you, man? Something like that, maybe 24. All I know is you're young as hell, and I'm jealous of you. And have a great, great, great birthday tomorrow. And hopefully you are treated to one hell of a good Dynamite, dude. Look for me. I should be on TV. Hard cam should be facing me. I'm not going to have a sign. You're going to have to look for the baldness. There should also be kind of like an aura of machismo kind of surrounding me. Just look for that. You should be able to pick me out. I think I've got my outfit picked out. Danhausen shirt, AEW hoodie. Look for me. Vince McMahon is a no-good SOB. A lot of people are not loving Vince right now. I think if there are people, and there's always an armpit of Twitter, and I'm sure there are some people that are loving what Vince McMahon is doing because they have dog shit souls. But for the rest of us, this is real, real bad news, man. King Bling Bling, thank you for 2 more bucks. What would Vince Sr. think about WWE scale and sale? I don't know. I don't know Vince Sr. well enough. The only thing I know about Vince Sr. is the stories I've heard from the talent, and that he was a good man, he was fair, but at the end of the day, he was a businessman, but he was also a businessman who did adhere to the unwritten rule of not treading into others' territory and whatnot. So I think from a businessman's perspective, he would be blown away that his Northeast company and his Northeast territory is worth $10 billion. Not sure how proud he would be of the route his son took to get there, but the fact that he was able to take that small regional promotion, granted it was New York and that's a big market, it was still pretty damn small compared to what it is now, and turn it into what he did. I would think that there's probably two sides to that. He'd be pretty blown away that that was even possible and that someone was able to do that and make that type of money. But also, if he read the whole story and read the whole book, I don't know if he would like every single chapter written in that book. NG Dre, what's up, family member? Good to see you. Saudis owning that video library is bad news. That is true. I knew videotaping as much shit as I could as a kid would pay off because I have so much stuff ripped to hard drives and stuff. I have a lot of original copies of a lot of pay-per-views and TV shows and unedited versions. And if it was owned, they could edit stuff, but it depends on who they license that out to. That's one thing you got to remember now. I think if WWE were to be sold to like a Comcast or a Disney, I think it would be a given that the content would probably be on those platforms. Excuse me. But if it's sold to, a private entity or investment group or whatever who doesn't have anything like that, and I think this was just, it was the Public Investment Fund. So they would be essentially licensing out the content. So you would still probably have those bidding wars between Netflix and Peacock and whatnot and Fox and NBC Universal. So if the Saudis bought it, I think WWE, might stay on the same channels, I think, or at least, those negotiations would be possible to stay there. But again, I don't know the ins and outs of that stuff. That's why it's a little bit unnerving as a wrestling fan to not truly know what the hell they're going to do if sold and depending on who buys them. And that's not a good feeling for a wrestling fan to have. I did see the story today, by the way, before we get to Steven Escalante's super chat. Tony Khan was a guest on the In the Zone podcast. And he says that he's following the sale of the WWE, quote, very closely. And this was reported and repeated by various news sites and all over Twitter. And I just kind of laughed at that was considered news because Tony Khan is another billionaire. Tony Khan also is the owner of a professional wrestling company. He is Vince's number one competitor. I would expect Tony Khan to be monitoring the WWE sale very closely. Tony Khan would be a fool if he didn't monitor it closely. So I thought that was really funny that was reported because I was like, okay, file under Sherlock, comma, no shit. Got it. Anyway, Steven Escalante, thank you very much for the $5, dude. This honestly killed my love for pro wrestling. I really hate seeing opinions like that. That's really sad. I was so excited because I wanted to see what a Triple H WrestleMania season would look like. Well, again, I know that so far I've said, hey, don't panic, it might not be that bad, and then more news has broke that has made it worse. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. You got to remember Triple H is still in charge. Everything going on behind the scenes so far has been concentrated to behind the scenes. Nothing has treaded into the actual arena with the wrestlers and the writers and the creative direction. And understandably, we're worried. Talent is worried. Some talent is pissed. Some talent is frustrated. But until that happens, all you're doing is being depressed for no reason. Why don't we just still, hold out hope that whatever the end game is here, whatever this end result is, it will result in creative landing in the hands of someone or something that makes us comfortable as a wrestling fan. Another thing you have to consider about the Saudi news, so far this is all rumors. Nothing has been official at all. I mean, WWE could leak this out just to gauge reaction, which I don't know why they would have to gauge this. They should already know that it would be overwhelmingly bad, but maybe they also want to gauge how it would affect the stock price, perhaps. See, of these rumors, if the stock price is going to do anything tomorrow, trying to get an idea if this is something that could be pulled off or not. That's very possible. And then if they realize, oh yeah, we'd be essentially raping the WWE if we did this, and this would not be a good idea. It's very possible that these rumors were put out there on purpose just to gauge a response. That's possible. Definitely possible. But Steven, and to you and to anybody else, that feels this way, we're not there yet. So before we start, jumping on airplanes, let's just give it a minute and see what happens. But I'm not going to lie. It's unnerving. It's unnerving. All right, Steven, you got 5 more right after that. Thank you so much, my friend. You think this will backfire on Vince? And honestly, I feel like it will, because Stephanie resigns. Says it all, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Vince has already had pushback from the board when he initially, let everybody know what he was going to do. And they were like, no, we unanimously decided that it would not be in the best companies or the best interest of the company for you to come back in any capacity. And they basically stiff-armed him, gave him the Heisman. No, stay out. That pissed him off, and he made it happen for himself. Now he's there, and he's unanimously voted to the board. It's basically like, it feels like he's got him by the balls. We're going to sell this company, and we're not doing anything without my say. And you guys can literally do nothing about it. That's what it feels like. And that pisses me off as a fan and a person. So yeah. But again, all this stuff is allegedly. Remember that. As Star Jones once said on Saturday Night Live. Allegedly. This is all rumors, nothing confirmed. We're just here to talk about the rumors. So this is not, I'm not reporting news, I'm just talking about it. The Iron Minotaur, good to see you. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate the $5. If there's a public vote, I vote good mic work to be the head of WWE. I don't have that type of patience. Please, God, give it to Greg, but not the Saudis or someone who doesn't know wrestling. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I would not want that job as head of creative. I would go out of my mind. I would have some fun with it at first. Don't get me wrong. Y'all would love a Greg Morgan WrestleMania. Love it. Every one of you would. But I wouldn't have the energy to do that for 20 years. I want to go to the beach and smell the fresh air and get out there and not just be on an airplane 70% of my life. So no, I wouldn't want to do that, but I would definitely, if I could write the show from home and they'd pay me, I don't know, let's see, so like a low number, like an introductory number, because I don't require a lot, $1 million a month. Okay, $1 million a month. So that would be $12 million a year. Maybe like bonuses, for the extra pay-per-views for Saudi shows. So maybe bump me up to about $15 million a year. And I could write it from home. I would only work Tuesdays and Fridays from 2 to 5. Again, and I accompany Tesla. Yeah, I'll do it. It's just, if you want to pass that on to Triple H, Bruce, whoever, if they want to offer me that, I will do it. I'll make their day, whatever. King Bling Bling, thank you for 5 more from you, dude. Best case, Saudi buys. Triple H runs it. No money budget. TV 14, private company, all employed and employees with benefits. All they do is supply and hands off. Right. That is one benefit to having a private company. You would have to find somebody, though, that is willing just to spend an obscene amount of money on WWE, and they seem like to be the only really suitable buyers in terms of people that might want to overpay. Anybody else, any other company, I don't really think would purposely want to overpay, but the Saudis just might be able to, and if it's completely hands-off and there's some sort of language in the contract, in the deal, in the sale that says that they can't affect shit, they just own it and WWE just makes some money, then maybe. But again, I didn't go to business school. I went to YouTube school, so I don't know about any of that stuff. But I'm scared, very, very scared. JJ Leg, good to see you, my friend. By the way, your Sami Zayn, my dog t-shirt went in the mail yesterday. I even have a tracking number that I should send you on Instagram. But anyway, you should get that in the mail maybe tomorrow. I hope you do. And if you do, shoot us a pic over on the socials, on the Instagrams or the Twitters or wherever. Thank you, dude. Appreciate the $2. What would happen if all talent and crew walked out? We're definitely going to have some people quit. I have no doubt. I have no doubt about it. Usually I'm not that dramatic. We've heard stories before. I remember fans even saying that, some fans anyway, crazy ones, if John Cena won the title, you'd have talent walking out. I'm like, listen to yourself. Get over yourself. Don't be so dramatic. But in this case, I could definitely see talent. I know there's talent for a fact that would be super duper crazy fucking balls out pissed about this type of sale and would absolutely want out of the company. And depending on how WWE handles that, if they know the sale is going to be extremely controversial, they might offer everybody outs. If you want out, you can go. WCW kind of did that once. And they would lose some people, but you would probably also have a lot of people sticking around and saying, hey, you know, I'm still getting paid and it's still my job. And I didn't ask for this sale to take place. It shouldn't be my job to, you know, I'm here to do my job and to wrestle for this company. And I signed on years ago and now it's owned by these fuckers. And what am I supposed to do here? What if you're a young wrestler who's, you know, in his late 20s and his whole life is wrestling? He's got no more than a high school education. He doesn't really know how to manage all this in his mind and what it all means and what he's supposed to do and what the right thing to do is. You know, you're still getting a paycheck in the mail every week. I guess I should just keep showing up to work, right? So it's going to put everybody in a lot of interesting situations, you know, personally and morally, and what they feel they want to do or they don't want to do, and how offensive some of the talent takes this. And I know a lot of people are extremely frustrated just with Vince McMahon and this whole story, this fact that he will not go away. He's the real nugget, not Owen. It's Vince. Vince is the old, wrinkly, washed up nugget that just won't go down because he's so dense and so old and such an egomaniac that he's willing to put everybody through this trauma, this uncertainty. And for a company this big and for so many fans, millions who depend on it, you know, or not depend, but are used to it and has been a part of their lives for so long, it's kind of shitty that they're willing to potentially do major damage to that, all for, you know, the extra buck. And of course, as we've talked about, the ego of Vince McMahon. It's a disappointing state of affairs in the company. Anyway, let me see what else we got in the chat here, since I think I knocked out most of the supers. Yeah, Saudi, you got to remember, Saudi Arabia has a ton of money, and so far that talent has benefited from those paydays. You know, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and a lot of those guys have gotten big Saudi Arabia paydays, and when you're in that business, if you have an opportunity to get paid $1 million for 10 minutes of work, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to care where the money's coming from either, to be honest with you. So you can't really fault too many people for making that decision for themselves, their families, you know, and being able to secure them and take care of them by just going out there and doing their jobs, you know. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult. But I think some talent that's basically in a situation where they can find work anywhere, you know, they might be the ones to step up and take a moral stance and say, well, I know that, you know, I can just quit this company or they'll give me a release and I know I can make money over with Tony Khan. But there's going to be some other talent that, you know, right now we already see the swelling of talent that's happened in AEW. Most fans are of the same opinion that AEW has a little too much talent right now and probably shouldn't be doing any mass signings at the moment because they're already kind of bloated. So if you are an lower level tier talent, if you're somebody like Mustafa Ali right now on the Raw roster, who's probably going to have a huge moral problem with this, and I don't blame him, based on everybody that's in AEW already, if he was finally granted a release in WWE, I'm sure Tony Khan would sign him and he would be great there. But where would he fit in? There's so many people like him and great talent there that's already struggling to get TV time. So people like him, you have to think about, well, you know, at least I'd feel better about my boss working for Tony Khan than I would working for WWE based on who owns him. But I don't know. It feels like you'd be tugged in a lot of directions, a lot of decisions to make. And, you know, maybe some talent is willing to just say, I'm just here to do my job. I don't care what's going on behind the scenes. Some may be very, very interested in what's going on behind the scenes. You know, maybe a rookie doesn't give a shit, but somebody like Bryan Danielson would if he was working in the company. So, and you're going to have people in between that aren't going to be quite sure what to do. And then you're going to have the chatter and the talk amongst everyone. I'm sure we're going to hear stories of a WWE roster meeting or something where they will reassure the talent once again that Vince McMahon is not here to come back into creative, although I have my doubts if that's really true. But if they keep reiterating that and Triple H calls a meeting and says, look, I know everybody's worried about what's going on, but this is all behind the scenes. everything here is still business as usual, which is what they tried to say before. Stephanie herself said everything was business as usual. 48 hours later, Stephanie resigned. So that doesn't sound like it's business as usual. It sounds like it's anything but. And that's why you got this feeling in your pit that something's going down, and we're going to hear some news tomorrow. And I don't know, man. Like I said, it's going to be really hard. I'm not going to be able to come up here and do any sort of video on this if we do have a sale tomorrow. Nothing will come on that until Thursday, but I'm going to be watching the interwebs like a hawk. Like a hawk. How about that? 6:55 in the chat right now at 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. That's not bad. By the way, if you guys could smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind, and if you are not subscribed to this channel, I think you should do it. I think you should. It takes like one finger, one click. Anyway, Kevin Owens just tweeted for the first time in months showing socks his daughter bought him. They rule. Okay. If anybody has any interesting tweets, I have not really seen Twitter since we've been streaming here, so I don't know if there's any other cryptic tweets. I don't know if any talent has tweeted anything out. I have no doubt that whatever Disco Inferno says about the situation will be a really, really asshole-ish, douchey type of take. In terms of WWE wrestlers dropping hints, unstable YouTubers typing in all caps, I think we're going to have a wide array of opinions and concerns floating around Twitter. Denise Salcedo, 36 minutes ago, just in case the rumors are true, I want to tweet this meme out. Oh, okay. I was like, well, she's got Mickey Mouse on there, but is Disney now rumored to buy the company? That would be great. They're not. Mickey Mouse is running in with the Money in the Bank briefcase to try to swoop in and take it. And that's what you got to hope for here. Some 11th hour, last minute potential buyer coming in and saying, no, we'll take it. Oh my God. Walter Main, apparently, Sean Ross Sapp has reported that WWE talent is pissed. I said at the beginning of this stream that without knowing anything about that situation, I guarantee you some talent is pissed, and I guess that confirms it. Andres, it would be really hard to speculate which superstars would leave. I don't want to really worry about wrestlers and like where they stand politically and stuff. I have ideas in my head of some people it would probably piss off, but I don't know if that's really the issue. I think there would be enough talent, though, that it should be newsworthy. And I think it would be interesting to find out who they all were. And it just depends. I mean, there's a lot more to it after the sale. Before, if I was a star, even if I was a top star very upset, I would at least, before I immediately went to Triple H or went to whoever and said I want to quit, or texted Vince personally, say, fuck you, I want out of your company, I would at least wait to hear all the details. Read the sale, the terms of the sale, what's going to happen, what the plans are. Read through that, and if I'm still disgusted at the end of it, then I will get out. But I'm at least going to look at all, sides of this. If I'm somebody that has millions of dollars at stake, so it's not really the time for hasty decisions. It's okay for the fans to be hasty because fans are always hasty. But if you're a member of the talent, you got to think about it. And you got to think about it. I am not of the belief that Disney would be that awful. I think they would be a safe buyer. Disney, they own ESPN and ABC. I think it would be fun to put WWE pay-per-views on the Plus network or something. You could put SmackDown on ABC. I don't know where Raw would go. I think they own FX. So it wouldn't be like the worst suitor, but I think the best suitor, and another thing about Disney too, is they have a lot of influence, with theme parks, and Disney could see WWE as a big moneymaker, in the theme park. And I think one thing we would get with a Disney-owned WWE is we would finally get that physical Hall of Fame. I think that would be very, very possible. So don't shit on Disney, just because it's, it's Mickey Mouse and you just automatically assume it's a kid's company. Disney owns a lot of shit and they have a lot of money, and they definitely could be a brand that sees dollars in WWE. They could take WWE doing what Disney does and make more money out of it and even more avenues than WWE already has. That's why I think Disney is actually the best suitor for WWE. But for fans, I kind of hope Comcast buys them, because they own NBC Universal, and WWE already has 2 existing relationships with NBC Universal. Their content is streamed on Peacock. And of course, WWE has been on the USA Network ever since I was 5 years old, and I'm 45 now. So I would love that to remain, that WWE would still be on USA. And if they were to sell to Fox or to Disney, that would all likely change, and that would be a bummer. But for those freaking out about Disney, this should not be the time to be panicking about Disney. You should be panicking about these Saudi Arabia rumors. I would rather have Arby's buy. Actually, somebody else probably owns Arby's, but I would just rather have Arby's alone. They've got their meats. They can get all the big, sweaty, slapping meat from WWE and just add that. I would much rather have Arby's own WWE than any company in Saudi Arabia. So I hope that Disney runs in and picks WWE up. I hope it's Comcast, Amazon, Fox, the outfit that owns UFC. There's a lot of suitors and a lot of buyers, potential buyers and bidders here, already, without this outside group. I just thought the Saudi group was going to be a bidder, not necessarily a front runner. So now hearing these rumors is freaky. I saw a lot of people joking that like Tony Khan should buy the company. Tony Khan should buy it. And think of the dream matches. I'm like, McFly, Tony Khan buying WWE. Where did we just come from? We just left 20 years of a monopoly. We do not want this to happen again. We don't want Tony Khan to buy up WWE and all of their product and all the rings and all that shit. And now you just have one big, massive wrestling company again with no competition. Don't forget they also own Ring of Honor. So was Impact going to rise up again and try to compete with them? We just left 2 decades of very, very flat wrestling because of that very reason. We do not want Tony Khan to buy WWE. We want somebody else to own WWE so the 2 companies can compete with each other. That's going to keep us entertained as fans, but maybe at the end of the day, it won't put enough money in the shareholders' pockets, and that's why the fans, what benefits us is now secondary. It's no longer the most important thing anymore. Yikes. Okay, well, maybe you guys know, granted, Siba, you guys know more about Disney than me. I don't know shit about Star Wars or half the stuff, no Disney movies. I saw The Little Mermaid and like Snow White when I was a kid. That's the only thing I've ever seen. I know dick about Disney. So if they've already done some shady shit and they've already done some things creatively that have upset fans, I'm not saying Disney would be a perfect fit for WWE, and I wasn't really that keen on them prior to the Saudi rumors, but now, like I said, I'd still rather have them. I'd still think that would make WWE a very, very recognizable brand here in the U.S. And I think Disney would promote them, exploit them. We'd have theme parks. We'd have a physical Hall of Fame. We'd have probably a cartoon and all sorts of other crazy shit. Maybe fans think that's bad, but Disney and WWE could both find those to be really attractive. And it wouldn't be so driven and Vince ego driven. It would be more of like for the good of the company driven. And that's kind of why I just hope we get a result like that, but we don't know. Paul M says AEW should be panicking. AEW should be doing the exact opposite. That's a funny take to have considering how bad and traumatic and how much turmoil there currently is in WWE. At the same time that they're about to renegotiate TV rights, you could have TV networks saying, we don't need Vince's bullshit. We can get Tony Khan's product for a third of the price. And yeah, granted, for a third of the price, but we're going to get, 75% of the ratings. It might just be more worth it to put Tony Khan's product, AEW, on your network because they don't have the drama and the bullshit that's going on in WWE. And it's much better. It's much safer investment just to do that since there is so much uncertainty in WWE. To the contrary, Paul, I think Tony Khan and AEW could actually swoop in here and get some sort of a better deal based on all the shit going on in WWE right now. So I believe the opposite. I think the anti-AEW sentiment that's out there is always going to make fans think that it's going to spell doom for AEW, but WWE is the one in turmoil here. WWE is the one making waves with all this controversy and this shady and sketchiness going on in WWE right now. For you to be able to flip that and think that it's hurting AEW, that's a bias on a level that I'm not really familiar with. That's fucking incredible. But anyway, I disagree, Paul. Disney, WWE on Disney Plus. Yeah, they could be anywhere. That's the thing. Disney has streaming platforms as well. Barry, I trust you to tell me about Disney. Disney has bought an animation company not too long ago and ended it, just keeping everything it made. So, yeah, I don't know how that would really affect WWE, but WWE is a brand that is well known and has done a good job of establishing itself. And I think that if Disney were to buy WWE, WWE would be in no danger of not existing anymore. You know what I mean? I just think it would always be a thing. And it would be interesting to see how another company handles competition with AEW, because let's say Disney were to buy it, it would be kind of like how it was when Vince was owning WWE and Time Warner was owning WCW. Now Tony Khan does have the ability, to spend as much as he wants without having to explain himself to corporate on these expenses and whatnot. And if Disney is only allotting a certain amount of money to spend on WWE or for WWE's budget or whatever, that's where it could really benefit Tony Khan, because unlike Vince in the 90s, Vince didn't have billions of dollars like Tony Khan did. So, WWE might have a cap on what they can offer top talent. And if Tony Khan's aware of that information, he can just offer more if he really, really wants that person bad enough. So it might even make competition really interesting. And it's going to be interesting in 2 years' time. Like if you just fast forward 2 years from this day, and it'll be interesting to think about this 2 years from now in 2025. Like what do you think the landscape is going to look like? Who's going to be owning WWE? How have things been going? Has it been good? Has it been bad? Was the sale a success? Was it a controversy? Was it a failure? How is AEW doing? Did they benefit from this? Did they suffer from this? Who's on what networks these days? Where's WWE streaming? Where's AEW streaming? It'll be really interesting to see like what all this looks like in 2 years. And hopefully by then we've hit a settling out period where, we're now both companies are just doing their thing, and all of that crazy couple of years is over. It's behind us, and now we're just moving forward. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we'll find ourselves in that situation as fans one day, but I can't lie. I'm a little bit concerned about some of these rumors floating around the Twitters today. So, anywho, let me go back to the chat here. If there's nothing else too crazy going on, then we will sign off. I hate to strand almost 700 people in the chat, but I only planned on being up here for about an hour and hanging out and talking to you guys. People are unhappy in AEW. Oh, shut up, Paul. All right, you're done. You're one of those. Paul, you have to understand that you are you're not even a dime a dozen. You're like a dime 100. There's so many of you, and you're so awful. Get a life, dork. Anyway, big question is, what does this mean for MJF in the bidding war of 2024? Good point. The other day, MJF tweeted out all of the platform, all the companies that he loved, Comcast and Disney. I don't talk enough about how much I love these companies, which is great. MJF's playing right into this. I definitely think that Tony Khan is sitting back kind of finding all of this very, very interesting because, there is an opportunity, not necessarily sure if AEW could benefit, but there's definitely an opportunity for them to benefit, for sure. And Vince does not have, by the way, a great relationship with the Saudi prince either. There was something he yelled at him, one of them. I can't remember what the story was, but it's not all perfect there, that relationship either. So that's another thing that I'm hoping, could be some evidence that maybe all this stuff is bullshit. I'm hoping that it is. Walter, Greg, is this the biggest news since you've been on YouTube? No, because it's not news yet. The company is not sold. If it turns out to be sold, then yes, WWE, Vince McMahon no longer being the owner of WWE would be the biggest news since I've been on YouTube, yes. But so far, that is not the case. So far, nothing's confirmed and nothing's been announced. But like I said, by the time I sign off this video and we go to sleep, I could wake up in the morning with a completely different story. So that's why if you're going to get any comments from me, you're going to get it right here. I know, the timing for Sami Zayn as well, especially everything going on with him. Mike Witt. And well, one thing that's not going to happen, like Trump and Elon Musk and Tony Khan, everybody's throwing out these names. None of these people are going to buy WWE. However, I remember when WCW was about to sell, Vince McMahon and WWE was talked about as potential buyers, but nobody really believed that was going to happen. And so when it did, it was pretty shocking because I already heard the Vince rumors prior to hearing the announcement of WWE purchasing and acquiring WCW. And I was like, nah. And I remember whoever I was talking to or listening to at the time was like, that's probably not going to happen. But technically, WWE could sell it or could buy it. They might not want to sell it to them, but they could or whatever. And so when the deal got done, it was just kind of mind-blowing. So this will be the biggest story since that, because that was pretty mind-blowing. I've talked about it for years. I watched the simulcast that night. I still have the original recording where you can see me flipping back and forth to Raw and Nitro, shitting my pants watching that all go down. I was like, I just sat here on my couch every single Monday and watched this brutal Monday Night War between these two companies. It was my entire teenage years watching this go down. And now I'm sitting here in my apartment watching Vince McMahon on fucking Nitro and Shane showing up in the ring. It was surreal. It was super surreal. I don't know if this is going to be on the same level, because what was so crazy about that situation is it played out on TV. Right, and it was on the go home to WrestleMania. I don't think we're going to have Vince McMahon bringing the Saudis down to sign a contract on the go home show to WrestleMania on Raw. But having that all play out on TV and kind of it being merged into the storyline made it even crazier. So if WWE sells, it'll definitely be the biggest story since I've been on YouTube, but I'm not sure if it'll be the most surreal story, because nothing could ever top how that felt when WWE bought WCW. But I'm definitely not that happy. Let me knock out some more super chats that are coming in. Thank you very much. Jimmy Fingers for the $2. Appreciate that, my friend. Would Sami Zayn stay under Saudi ownership? I do not want to speak for Sami Zayn. I have way too much respect for Sami Zayn, one of my favorite people in wrestling. As a matter of fact, we've donated to Sami Zayn's charity about 3 times now, and we just gave away a couple of his My Dog t-shirts that 100% of the proceeds went to Sami for Syria. He is one of my favorite people in all of the wrestling business, and whatever he decides to do, Greg will be perfectly supportive of. And I don't know what's in his head. I don't want to speculate on that. It's irresponsible to do so. And whatever he's going through, just know that he's beloved. Hopefully he does. Stinky Toffee, thank you very much for that. 179. Wasn't it in Saudi with the whole runaway thing? Runaway. I don't know what that's referencing, but they've had some issues, man. That first trip or two they took over there when everybody got stranded, that whole situation was just sketchy, and that was what was uncomfortable about it. It wasn't like your typical weather delay or plane delay or something was wrong. It was like, why aren't they leaving? And it was sketchy, and why? I hate sketchiness, just fucked up. But Ted Turner buys WWE. That would be funny if, WWE went back and on TBS and they dumped AEW, brought in WWE content, and then WWE is back on TBS once again, just like Black Saturday. No, it's definitely not Usi, that's for sure. Willow Falls, good point. Not Usi at all. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button yet, you still can. I know there's been a lot of questions I haven't gotten to, so I'm just kind of scrolling through to see if there's anything worth reading, and then we'll get out of here. Now, Tiger Claw Gaming, you're right. This is something that I think we all know. The truth is Vince doesn't care what happens after the sale. He gets his money, and so whatever happens to the brand happens. That's what I was saying, and that's what I was also outlining that is so crazy to me, because I don't know how long some of you have been watching wrestling, but I've been watching it for 40 years, and this guy has always appeared to want the WWE to succeed as much as possible, and he really claimed that he cared about the fans and the direction of the product, and he was very patriotic man, and you knew who Vince was in that regard. And so, every time he's made some sort of a statement ever since, WWE got taken public about 22 years ago, that's really when it felt like things were changing, and when no longer was pleasing the audience the number one priority. Doesn't mean it wasn't a priority, just wasn't the first one. It was now all about profits, bottom line, shareholder stuff. And every time Vince has spoken in the past couple of weeks, he's said that every time. He needs to be there to maximize shareholder value, which makes it sound like and implies that this dude is here to simply sell to whoever pays him the most. And I just really wish, as as someone who knows dick about business, I just really hope more goes into it than that. And I'd feel much more comfortable about WWE being in the hands of, a company that doesn't have potential to really damage the company from morale standpoint, PR standpoint. A lot of people losing their jobs, potentially quitting, leaving. Right when they had all that turmoil happen with Vince retiring, they were able to weather the storm, start sailing again, and then boom, another monkey wrench in. They're tripped up. What a weird year. What a weird year 2022 was, and we are 10 days into 2023, and it's already weird as shit, so we don't know what's going to happen. But that is going to do it for me tonight. Let me see. I think we got another super chat coming in that I want to make sure I hit. Hollywood Guy, thank you so much, man. Appreciate the $5. Wait. This is confirmed that Saudi owns WWE or still pending? I hope not. Yeah, if you're just chiming in, we've just spent the last hour talking about these rumors. That's all that we're talking about here. Last hour or so on social media. A lot of the wrestling journalists and people started speculating that there could be a sale imminent with a Saudi investment fund that could be buying WWE, taking the company private. Nobody really knows where those rumors are coming from, and certainly nothing is confirmed. WWE has not announced anything. Nothing is official at all. It's just rumors, but they were rumors. They got enough steam that it's got a lot of people shitting their pants a little bit on social media. And tomorrow I'm heading up to LA to go to Dynamite. So I'm not going to be here if there's a big sale and WWE announces some, major sale and it blows the roof off the wrestling world. I'm not going to be here to do a video on it because I'm going to be at the show. So this was my only chance to come up here late night on Tuesday and at least give you my initial thoughts of what to make of all this nonsense and what it could mean for WWE's future and how truly crazy this entire situation is that's been unfolding with Vince ever since the beginning of the year and this maniac muscling his way back into WWE. It's sad. That has been the overwhelming theme by a lot of you, is that it's just sad. We got some more supers coming in, so we're not signing off just yet. Sib Jaga, thank you for that very much. Say it ain't so. We're hoping, my man. We're hoping it ain't so. So far, it is not. I didn't get you earlier, and I'm sorry for almost missing that one. I'm just scrolling up. I want to make sure I don't sign off here by missing anybody's super chat because that makes me really sad when that happens. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, for being here tonight. I know it's late, and I know I came up with literally no warning, less than an hour warning, and we did some pretty good damn numbers for tonight, so very cool. Hit your thumbs up button on the way out the door. Make sure you subscribe, and I will be back with you guys probably on Thursday to give you a recap of my experience at tomorrow's AEW Dynamite at the Forum, and we may have big news regarding WWE. So I will be up here in some capacity on Thursday to talk all about that. So look out for a link and make sure you subscribe as well. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good rest of your